Hello everyone, I hope you're all good and happy and healthy. This week I'm going to be showing you a full time lapse of a tutorial that I've got over on Patreon about building up layers of skin to paint anatomy. So first of all, if you want to check that full tutorial out, it's about an hour long. Head over to patreon.com/fineliner-nerd, and it's for the £5 tier or Stars in My Night Sky tier. I always go through these weird stages when I paint where I don't really love what I'm making. I kind of feel like it's not really working, and I think I always feel like that really early on. So in the first couple of layers I'm like, oh no, I want to start again. And sometimes I just have to trust my gut, because I actually really like the way this turned out. I was trying a few slightly adjusted techniques that I normally use. I'm a big fan of glazing and dragging to make sort of micro gradients that all build up into one big kind of full picture, showing as much depth as I can manage, and as much form as well. And this was really no exception, but I was a lot more patient with myself. I allowed myself the time to wait for layers to dry. I tend to be quite impatient, and I want to get the information down on the paper. I almost feel like I'm going to forget it or something as I'm painting. Oh, don't forget that elbow, or don't forget the redness in that shoulder, or don't forget to blend out that gradient on that arm, come back to it and soften that hard line. All of those things, I tend to my mind races while I'm painting. I'm like, got to do everything all at once, and I get really excited. But for this painting, like I said, I just really chilled out. I was like, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to let layers dry. And if I need to make notes about what I need to do, I'm going to make notes. I didn't have to, because I didn't forget anything. And I think that taught me to kind of trust my instincts, that my artistic ability isn't just in the moment. And sometimes coming back to something after 15 minutes, half an hour, waiting for it to dry, sometimes it gives you a fresh perspective. And you kind of go, yeah, okay, I didn't know how I was going to do that earlier, and now I do. And I think it's because your mind is given some time to percolate on the task at hand, the logic about how you're going to handle, like which way the color flows and all of those things. And it was a really refreshing experience, because it sort of taught me to trust myself outside of being in the zone. Now for this pose, I will admit that I set up my lights in my room and took a picture of myself, because I couldn't get the pose right. I was trying to do too many complicated things at once. I was trying to get the pose, I was trying to get lighting direction, and I was just being thrown off trying to draw it from my mind. And do you know what? Our bodies are there, so why not use them if we want a reference picture? It absolutely beats trawling through life drawing websites to try and find a pose that might do or something like that. It's a really essential part of learning to paint bodies, I think. Yeah, I had like a lighting setup in my bedroom. I just started snapping away. I'm kind of a bit embarrassed about it. So yeah, if this is my version of a nude being on the internet, so be it. But anyway, getting back to the painting, one of the most important things for me when I'm painting is to build up enough depth in the skin tone, so that when I put the blue mixture over the top as shadows, it doesn't just kind of stand out as like a pale blue, that it sort of melts into the skin tone and makes it properly shadowy. So you can see me building up layers in the darkest parts, underarms and under the neck, across the face, because the arms are covering the face. So building up all that depth really helps just, I think, put the shadows into slightly more realistic context on the page. But at the same time, I was also trying to stylize what I was painting. I've always been really amazed at the artwork in graphic novels, and I've been reading them since I was a teenager on and off, and always just like, God, I really, really want to make art like that one day. And I've never really done it, but what I have always been inspired by is that kind of perfectly blended digital art. I'm still inspired by so many digital artists to this day. I follow tons of them on Instagram that are doing incredible things. And when I started with watercolours, it was one of my aims was to try and emulate some of that perfection in digital art in a traditional medium, which kind of sounds like, well, you know, just get your skills there. But I never thought that it would be possible with watercolour. I always thought that watercolour was something that was very gestural and expressive and one of those mediums that you just let flow and you let do its thing. And yeah, absolutely, that's the way to use watercolour. But also watercolour can be tamed. And I take a lot of satisfaction in trying to achieve what I'm talking about, like that kind of graphic novel style of art, that it's perfectly smooth, perfectly blended. It's why I use the glazing and dragging techniques so much in my paintings. And I'm trying to teach myself a little bit more patience. You see that? I'm coming back full circle. Is because I really want to control watercolour in a way that it kind of doesn't want to be controlled. Which sounds silly, but there is no other medium, I feel, that I can achieve the same results that I'm achieving with watercolour. But I think there's something about the translucency of watercolour that really lends itself well to what I'm trying to do. I'm not even sure at this point whether I'm making sense. If you're following, then good for you. But I tend to just do these kind of streams of consciousness when I record these videos. So yeah, if you're following along, massive kudos. Anyway, I think that's quite enough from me today. I hope you enjoyed seeing the time lapse. Like I said before, if you want to check out the full tutorial, it's on patreon.com. And while we're on that note, I would like to thank all my patrons for their support. It really means the world. All right, my next video is going to be a limited colour palette. I'm using Opera Rose and Payne's Grey, and I'm making something with even more gradients, and it's going to be really fun. So keep an eye out for that. The colours are bonkers. I'm currently looking at the painting on my desk. So I hope you're looking forward to that, and I will see you next time.